Three, two, one, here we go. Hello and welcome to another great episode of the Gonzo Experience. I am David Gonzo Mamano here with another episode every week, folks, for 6+ years now. And today I have an incredible guest and a dear friend that I've known for, I want to say 20 years at least. His name is Brian Brault from lovely Buffalo, New York. So Brian, welcome to the show. We've been trying to do this for so long, and I'm glad we're finally able to do it.
Oh, Dave, great to be here. And when you said I've known Brian for, and you started to pause to do it, I would have said 20 years. So I think it's just about 20 years.
I want to start out by telling everybody how we met, because I love this story, and it makes me respect the heck out of you every time I tell it. So everybody, just quickly so you understand how I met Brian. So way back when, I want to say it was 2003. So yeah, it's about 20 years. I remember that because that year my son was born. My first son was born. I had built my first $1 million business, and I was stuck. I was looking to grow to the next level, but felt like I didn't have the skills. So I was looking for people or an organization that could help me. I read about, at that time it was called YEO, Young Entrepreneurs Organization. Now it's EO, just so they dropped the young so they could keep members longer, keep their dues longer. So EO, many of you heard of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, incredible global organization for entrepreneurs. And so I saw an ad for YEO in Inc. magazine, and I called and I said, oh my God, I want to join. And the guy that answered said, oh, we don't have a chapter in Rochester. You'll have to join the Buffalo chapter. And I said, well, I don't want to join Buffalo. Can I just start Rochester? And he was like, yeah, sure. It's Matt Lucent. You remember Matt? And, yeah. And Matt said, yeah, we'll get behind you all the way. And so I started, and then, Ralph DeAndre helped me get started. We started the Rochester chapter of YEO. We got it up to, I want to say 12, 13 members. And then people were telling me, you need to meet Brian Brault. He's the president of the Buffalo chapter. And so I called you, and you're from Rochester originally, right? So you know it well. Right. And you're like, hey, Dave, I'm going to be in Rochester. Let's have breakfast. So we met and we had breakfast at the Strathale and hit it off, as I'm sure many people do with you. And we became good friends. And then, we started talking about God, Buffalo and Rochester were like best buddies. We're so close. What if we combined chapters, just had one big chapter for Western New York? I loved it. You loved the idea. And so I convinced everybody in Rochester to say yes. They thought it was a great idea. Buffalo was another story. About half your chapter said yes. The other half said, no way, we want to stay, just a Buffalo chapter. And here's what I love about you. Here's what I love about Brian Brault, everybody. Brian said to the members that didn't want to join with Rochester, when it come renewal time, Brian said, hey, the people that want to combine, we're going to join the Rochester chapter instead of the Buffalo chapter. And that's what you brought about. I want to say you brought about 10, 15 people, joined the Rochester chapter. And then the people that stayed with Buffalo kind of, we'll say, just shriveled and didn't do too well. So then we were able to convince Global to combine the chapters into one big chapter where it stands today, EO Western New York. So I love that story because I love the bold move that you made to say, well, if you don't want to join, then we're going to join, right?
You figure out a way to get it done. We don't take no for an answer, as you know, David.
Exactly. We got it done. So, Brian, you have been a prolific entrepreneur, and I would love to have you, kind of give your journey as far as how you started in the whole world of entrepreneurship. And I know you've had a few different businesses since then. So, give us the semi-brief story of your journey so far, because then I really want to take your story and turn it into nuggets and lessons for the Gonzo family listeners.
Yeah, great. So I guess my first real entrepreneurial story was when I was 5. I got some money for a birthday and went that spring to a garage sale and found this little thing called a Presto hot dog cooker, which could cook 6 hot dogs in a minute. But when I was 5, microwave ovens weren't a thing yet, believe it or not. And so I had a hot dog stand that summer and made $14 profit in a day. And I just thought I was on top of the world. That kind of gave me the entrepreneurial bug. And so that kind of got me started. And then I started cutting lawns and delivering newspapers and snowblowing driveways, which put myself through high school and college. And my senior year in college, we had to, I was in the business program. We had to design a business on paper. And back then, vinyl siding on homes was about 5 years into the market. And it was designed to be maintenance free, yet it got dirty. And so I thought, gosh, you should be able to kind of like buy some sort of machine that can help wash vinyl siding on houses. So we just designed a business on paper. And that year was my senior year in undergraduate, and the job offers I was getting, wow, I made more money putting myself through school than the job offers I was getting. So I decided, well, maybe if I go get my MBA, the job offers will increase. And so I decided I got an assistantship to study for school. I had designed a computer program that allowed me to take what required me to work 20 hours in my assistantship for my MBA, that I could get done in 6 hours. And it was accurate. So the guy that I reported to said, hey, listen, as long as you're keeping up with the workload, you can work 6 hours. Well, I decided that I would start that business on that I wrote on paper. I would start it. So I started power washing vinyl siding on homes. I approached a grocery store chain, Tops Markets, which you know well, David, and started doing work for Tops Markets, power washing the exterior of their stores. Started doing some interior work and just built a business. I got to about, I don't know, maybe 1.5 million in revenue, and somewhat plateaued in just was kind of stuck there. So when I was exposed to Young Entrepreneurs Organization, I saw it as an opportunity for me to not only learn how to scale my business, but also I could connect with other like-minded people, because I was starting to feel kind of lonely, that the things I needed and wanted to talk about, most of the people that I interacted with just didn't get me as an entrepreneur. So I joined YEO at the time, and in the first 4 years of being a member of YEO, I scaled that business from 1.5 million to 12 million. And it was really a powerful time, because I jumped in with both feet and said, hey, if I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to learn everything I can. So I went to every chapter, regional, global learning event I could. I joined the Entrepreneurial Masters program, and for 3 years was a student in that, and started to get involved in EO leadership as well. So that business grew, and I loved the way it grew. We started another business in 2005 called Pure Wellness Rooms, which helps make life better for people who travel with allergies and asthma by creating special wellness rooms in hotels that are very, very healthy. That business still exists today. And I still maintain my ownership position in that, but I'm not active in that business anymore. About 4.5, almost 5 years ago now, I started a business called Legacy of Significance. And that helps people on their journey of self-discovery to help them live their best life. And we do that through programs like executive education, programming, leadership training, retreats, and some coaching. Not a lot of coaching, but some.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yeah, we talk every now and then. I don't know too much about this latest business, so that sounds amazing. One of the things that we were talking about in the pre-talk, that you have changed, your, I guess, mindset about life from having goals to having experiences. Tell me about that.
Well, it's interesting. I've had a list of 100 lifetime goals for about 4 or 5 years now, 6 years actually. April 19th of 2016, I started creating that list, and within a month or so, it was up to the 100 lifetime goals. And so it was real interesting. One of my 100 lifetime goals, if you will, is to spend a month a year in a foreign country. And my wife and I literally last night returned from spending a month in Italy. And while I was there, my wife and one of her friends who had come over, Jody Robinson, who had come over to visit, were talking about this list of 100 lifetime goals. And they were both challenging me on this notion of goals, that goals tend to be about the destiny. And, I'm goal oriented. So I just, had a nice kind of fun banter conversation with them. But the next day I left to go to Varanasi, India, to help lead a leadership training program for a week. And Varanasi, India is kind of like one of the Hindu capitals, if you will. It's kind of what Mecca is to Islam. Varanasi is for Hinduism. And it was a fascinating experience because it was all about really transcendence, and it was about enjoying every moment of life up until the moment that you leave this earth in your current state. And I realized that this list of 100 lifetime goals wasn't really about achievement. It was, all of those are around experiences. And so some of them are fun experiences, like, attending a Premier League soccer match live, seeing a live cricket match, or at least part of one. But also, ascending Kilimanjaro or climbing to base camp of Mount Everest. But then there's others that are spending a week as a homeless person, spending a week in an ashram, doing spiritual retreats. So there's many different things, and it's about experiencing life. And so I realized that these are not goals I'm looking to achieve as much as they're experiences I'm looking to have in my life. And some of those experiences I share with other people. And so it's, in shifting my mindset from taking it from being a goal, something that I achieve, to something that I experience, helps me enjoy the journey more and focusing on the journey rather than the end goal. And so that's just kind of, that's all happened really over the past month. While I was sitting in Italy, between India and Italy, just realizing that it's the journey I was enjoying.
Italy will have that effect on you.
Yeah, it sure will. It sure will.
I love it. So, I mean, what a great journey. You went from a very manual labor business, very intensive business, and then the Pure Room. I remember that, and that's great that that's still going. That provided a great service to people that were traveling and have allergies and needed some good clean air, filtered air. But I love this. The stage that you're in right now. I think that's a perfect place for you. Your entrepreneurs organization journey has been amazing. Prior to recording, we were talking about all the positions you've had, including, when I went through the entrepreneurial master's program from EO, you were what was your official title? I
think facilitator, chairperson of the class. Yeah.
I mean, you were like the hub, like you ran the show, introduced all the speakers, et cetera. So you were there for all 3 years for me. And I know that you continued to rise within EO in many learning chair, forum chairs, the head of the board. I mean, everywhere. I think you've had every position, right?
Well, not every position, but certainly, yes. Global forum chair, global learning chair, exec ed subcommittee chair. But then I eventually was on the board of directors of EO, and then the global chair of the board, which and when you're done with being global chair, you kind of step out of leadership. I've been really fortunate because I still am in that role of being the entrepreneurial master's program facilitator, and I love doing that. That's a volunteer role. But if they said, "Hey, listen, we're going to shift this. You actually need to pay us to do this," I would pay them to do it. I get so much out of that, and the leadership training that I do, I find incredible value, and in the forum work. But so I'm one of the lucky ones. I still get to be involved in leadership. It's all volunteer, but it's really impactful work. And you and I were talking, and you're very similar in the sense that you're all about making impact in the lives of others, and you're very passionate about helping to advance entrepreneurship in the world. And that's kind of where I am in my life right now. And that's really where I kind of, in leadership in EO, what I was most passionate about is in 2015, in my entrepreneurial master's program class, I had a guy named Jeff Hoffman, who's one of the co-founders of Priceline.com, speaking. And well, when you're one of the co-founders of Priceline.com at this point in your life, you don't have to work anymore. You don't have to earn money. You've got more money than you could ever spend. And so Jeff Hoffman spends really his life now traveling around the world, speaking and really advancing entrepreneurship and helping people learn that their life can have meaning and, you know, leaving a legacy. And so he spoke about coming back from a trip substantially around the world, but his last stop was in Palestine. And he talked about the fact that, and Jeff is Jewish, and he talked about being in Palestine and seeing this world of poverty and hunger and famine and violence and war and terrorism, and that for generations that's all that country has known. And he said sitting down and talking to them about entrepreneurship and seeing their eyes light up and helping them to realize that they can hone basic skills and maybe make a future for themselves and their family could just change the course of what goes on in that part of the world. And when he said that, David, it crystallized in me things that have been echoing inside of me of living a life of purpose and meaning and significance. And so as I stepped into, I asked him if he would be a mentor to me, because I wanted to make an impact when I was chair of EO. And so we created, we believed that, you know, entrepreneurs harness incredible talent and heart and creativity and tenacity. And if we could harness those things and address the problems that the world faces, we may get some very different approaches than the bureaucracies of the world. And, you know, as you know, David, we just don't take no for an answer. And we just see ways to get things done that others don't see. And so we actually brought people together. We created a partnership with the United Nations and brought entrepreneurs from around the world together and gave them challenges related to the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and started to create an entrepreneurial approach to solving the problems of the world. And so that's been really powerful for me. And I'm at a point in my life where I only do things that I want to do in terms of work. I don't travel if I don't want to. I don't work with certain groups if I don't feel like they're aligned with what I want to do. And so what I want my life to do for the remaining years I have is just to be impactful in areas that I may be able to be impactful in. And if I can help people on their own journey figure out what's really important to them and to live their best life, then that's time well spent for me.
So fantastic. If you have a microphone, just drop it. I love every word of that, Brian. So thank you for that. You know, and you're like the true meaning of what I feel is a successful entrepreneur, because not only are you successful in business, but you're successful in your personal life. You got a great wife, Jean, who I've met many times, great kids, your grandfather at a very young age, we may say. And, but so checking, you know, the personal success, the business success, but also bringing it to a new level of helping others with their journey as well. Everything that you've done through EO, et cetera. And you never had to do that. I mean, all the stuff you've done with EO is volunteer. Like, that's a lot of time, right? And you had a $12 million business. You didn't have to do all that stuff, right? And but just having this incredible desire to you know, take your journey and what you've learned and to help others and to continue to help others, it's just tremendous. So you're checking every box in my book as a really successful entrepreneur. So congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that, David. And you know, as you know, the road to success in entrepreneurship is never a straight hockey stick. When you see hockey sticks, when you look closer, they're usually nothing like a hockey stick, which you're just looking at a period in that entire journey where people are going through, or companies are going through some aggressive growth. But I've had some incredible successes, but some really difficult challenges in my life as well. And so when I work with people, I don't feel like I can teach them anything. I really don't. What I do feel is that they'll learn something, but what they'll learn is already inside them. I may ask a question, I may share a perspective, which is my truth, doesn't mean it's your truth. And so it's just through conversations and asking questions, getting people to kind of go on their own inner journey. The answers that they're looking for are already inside them. It's just sometimes they can't see them. And so that's kind of what I hope that I can do if I spend time with someone, or we create a program that we put together that people are able to kind of find that on their own. So,
well, thank you for that. So, looking at your journey, it looks wonderful, building, 1 million to 12 million, multiple businesses, all the great things you're doing today. But I know that, you have shared with me that there have been some challenges. I like to call them crash and learn moments along the way instead of crash and burn. Maybe you could share some of those with us just to let everybody know that, listen, the road is not always paved with gold. There's some tripping and falling along the way.
Yeah, probably there's three things that stand out for me. Two are business and one is personal. The two business, I had my original business, Advanced Facility Services, and then started this Pure Wellness Room business while I owned, two businesses, and realized I needed to step away from one because I couldn't run both of them. And in stepping away from my original business, the one that grew to 12 million, I took someone who was great at operations, just a brilliant operations person, and had them step in as president of the company. And what I realized is just because someone's really strong in one area doesn't mean they're going to be strong in other areas. And we were a company that provided services. It was a property maintenance company. We provided services, and so it was all based around the operation. But I really underestimated the importance of culture. And so what I did is, in stepping out of my role, I started to lose the connection with my customers. And I also started to lose the connection with our people. And in place of that, a really amazing operational person stepped in, and their skill set was just different than mine. And their focus was different than mine. And I really let it go on way too long. And so that company the culture started to suffer. And, so it doesn't really matter how strong your strategy is, culture will eat strategy every day of the week. And so I learned a hard lesson there and had to really work much harder to bring that company back. That was one. Second one was in 2010, our Pure Wellness Room became a brand standard for Hyatt hotels, which just took us to a whole nother level, just grew significantly in the year that we launched that whole program. And we became more professional on many levels. And it was a fun time to be there. We had a 3-year contract with them as a brand standard, which meant that our program was in every full service Hyatt in the Americas, Canada, the US, and in the Caribbean. And so we grew quite a bit. At the end of that 3 years, there was high level leadership in Hyatt changed, and the people that we were connected with were moved into different parts of the organization. We were now dealing with new people, and our brand standard was not continued. It went to a brand recommendation, which all that really means is, hey, we like your program, but we're not going to require people to do it. Well, that was a really difficult time. We knew we were going to lose about 30% of our business almost overnight. And so it was a really challenging time for us. And I can remember finding out that news and then bringing our entire leadership team together and just kind of praying that the words would come to me and that I would figure out what I needed to say. And it's kind of interesting because the words did come to me, but not the way I thought they would, because that meeting started and I thought I had failed in coming up with the words. And so when we started that meeting, I looked down and it felt like 10 minutes. It was probably 10 seconds. And I looked up, I said, hey, listen, we all know what we're facing right now. And I wish I had the answers. I wish I had the words to give you, but I don't. But what I do know is that the people in this room have the answers. We may just not realize it yet. So why don't we, as a team, try to figure this out? And my team kind of looked at me, with big eyes, kind of hoping that I had this wisdom of how we were going to work through this. And about 2 minutes in, someone said, well, what if we did this? And all of a sudden it just led into a conversation. And 2 hours later, we had a plan. It wasn't perfect, but we had a plan. And there was one woman from Houston who was the last to leave. And she came up to me at that point and said, I've never seen you be as strong of a leader as you were today.
Wow.
And I even get emotional thinking about it now because I felt I had failed as a leader. And what I learned in that moment was it's important to be willing to be vulnerable as a leader and not have to have all the answers. Because if you hire good people, they've got perspective and insight that you don't have. And if you feel like you need to have all those answers, you're just creating a bottleneck in your company and you'll never grow to what you ultimately could be.
Yeah.
So powerful moment. And the third one, Dave, was August 6th of 2014, I learned that my son, who I love incredibly, had a drug problem. And I had no idea. And it started us on a 2-year and 3-month journey. Well, actually a lifelong journey, but at that time, a 2-year and 3-month journey of a hell that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. In the end, he went to a year-long faith-based recovery program that saved his life, and put him on a totally different path. And those things, as difficult as that was, Dave, because I can remember that first year, literally every morning I would wake up and I would just look at my phone to see if he was still alive. Very difficult journey. Looking back, he and I talk almost every day and wouldn't change that, for the world, because we learned so much. And, those situations can pull families apart. And for us, it didn't. It brought my wife and I closer together. It brought me closer to my faith. I saw my daughters step in with love in a way that was appropriate. It wasn't enabling, but he knew they were there for him and loved him and cared about him. And so really what it did for our family was really powerful. But it was a really difficult journey. The guilt, the shame, dealing with judgments. I mean, I teach people to suspend judgment, but I realized during that journey that what I was teaching was more of an intellectual exercise, that I had my own judgments about people who must do drugs in the environment they grew up in. And I learned a lot. And it's really helped me to emotionally learn how to suspend judgment, not just intellectually. And it's been really powerful. It's helped me to understand the importance of recognizing the humanity in the people that we lead. And so just really powerful. So those are 3 really difficult periods of my life. And I probably wouldn't change any of them in hindsight.
Part of the journey, part of your DNA at this point, right? So made you who you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, thanks for sharing all that. Thanks for being vulnerable and sharing everything, because a lot of entrepreneurs that are successful They just want to show the good stuff, right? The nice car, the nice wife, the success, the travel, yada, yada. But I appreciate you going behind the curtain and sharing everything with us, because I think it's important. I think especially entrepreneurs that are starting out, and they look at other entrepreneurs that are doing well and they say, what's wrong with me? How come I'm not like this person? And
Yeah.
but every time I ask somebody to share their story with me, as I say, the crash and learn story, most people say, which one do you want? So you shared 3, so thank you. And
Well,
God
there's
bless you.
more, but those are
Yeah, those are
three
the
that
highlights.
stand out in the moment.
Highlights, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and blessings to you and your family and your son. So glad that he recovered and he's doing well. And I can't imagine going through that. So very blessed to still have him here, and he's very blessed that he had you and Gene to really support him through that rough patch. So, but
Yeah.
well, Brian, you are tremendous. This has been tremendous. If people want to reach out to you and just connect, learn more about you, your businesses, how you help people, with your current business, EO, et cetera, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, our website is legacyofsignificance.com. My email address is Brian, Brian, at life-bydesign.com.
Cool. Awesome. And as always, if anybody wants a personal introduction to Brian, throw me an email at david@davidmamano.com, and I'd be happy to do an intro to Brian. Brian, thanks again. Wishing you continued massive success. Very much appreciate you sharing some heartbeats with us today. Definitely say hi to Gene and your family, and I hope to see you soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you, David. It's been fun.
Thank you. And thank you, Gonzo family, for sharing your heartbeats with us today. We always appreciate that as well. Have a great day. Continue to do massively successful things, always moving forward with the journey, enjoying the roller coaster ride that is being an entrepreneur. And also, of course, don't forget to stay awesome.